Okay, buongiorno.
Very good.
Do you like that? We've just spent the last 3 days in Rome, at David's birthplace, actually.
Yes.
At the Festival of Media, as you can see, which is in Rome. So we just wanted to share with you a little bit of a debrief on some of the things, the highs and the lows, or the, the strengths or whatever, of the Festival of Media, thinking about the importance, potentially, that the global media industry, the importance of having a platform for and an agenda for discussion, given how much is actually going on.
That's right.
So what were your observations, main observations of the festival this year?
Well, I mean, firstly, it was, there were a lot of brands there. So we had, I think, probably representatives of just over a dozen of the world's largest advertisers. Yeah. Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola were represented there. And these were, big, provocative media leaders that were part of that stakeholder group. And so I think that was very important that they were involved. Yeah.
They tend to, as well, they tend to be like magnets, don't they? So if the big media executives turn up, then often they bring delegations of their teams with them, and then, if a P&G delegation is in Rome, then that will attract all the agencies and the vendors and stuff, and that creates the festival.
That's right.
Theory.
And these are media leaders from a marketing perspective, and with them, I think in most cases they kind of brought procurement counterparts, and so that was good. The production values I thought were sensational. So I mean, they put on the festival organisers put on a fantastic production with different rooms and the main set. I thought that was kind of really good. And there was a sense of energy. I thought that there was a really positive, constructive, healthy energy in the festival and in the rooms, good, healthy debate. And I thought that the agenda had been curated interestingly and well, and there were some very provocative topics that I think were being covered.
Yeah. I think that's all right. I mean, we really enjoyed it. I thought we had a very productive festival, and we got out of it certainly what we were hoping for. The other thing I was really pleased to see is that the Festival of Media as a product in the past has been accused a little bit. I think it kind of lost its way a little bit sometime ago, and it was very agency focused, and it was very much organised around the awards. And so I think a lot of marketers felt they didn't really have a role in it, even though it was it's their money and it's their agenda. This year, as you say, very much more focused on marketers, a lot more marketers on stage, a lot less kind of salesy type presentation, and marketers sharing case studies. It wasn't bland and generic, some actually very specific things which encouraged discussion and follow-up. So that transition from agency focus to marketer focus, I think, is the beginning of that. But I thought that was really successful. The other thing, where they host the festival in Rome and Cavalieri, which is a beautiful setting, wasn't it? And we happened to be cohabiting with all the ATP tennis players, all going up and down the lift as well. So it was quite glamorous. But it's a perfect setting for the networking thing, which is half the reason that you go to a conference or a festival. It's a nice surrounding.
Yeah, that's right, and it's a little bit like Cannes, right? I mean, the reason that Cannes is so popular is because once every year it's an aggregator of media owners, business partners, different stakeholders within your organisation. And so not only are you kind of benefiting from the content that is shared at these festivals, but you also have an opportunity to meet your peers and your business stakeholder partners, etc. And so there were a lot of kind of side meetings going on, a lot of different agendas that were kind of being played out because it was a brilliant opportunity within the same hotel to not only enjoy the content that was being shared by the festival, but also to kind of to meet other people and network. Yeah,
so it's good. So we thought it was pretty good. Before we move on, what we're going to do is just think about actually for the future and the idea of a kind of media platform and how important that might be for the industry. But can you just share in my humble opinion, one of the best sessions was involved you, which was case studies, right, from two advertisers, Deutsche Telekom and LVMH, which is really interesting. And lots of people the next day were saying that they really enjoyed that session. For those that weren't there, what were we trying to do with that?
Well, it's about advertisers taking control in a kind of positive way, and I kind of set it up by saying that there is a progression of control. So advertisers have have perhaps moved away, based on the encouragement of the trade bodies to, from relinquishing responsibility and decision making to their agencies to taking more control.
Which we did a whole episode on a while back,
right.
so I'll link up to that.
But it doesn't mean in-housing, because there is a progression of control, and I kind of set it up. And with me, I was kind of privileged to have two international media leaders that have kind of championed this charge internally, and Gerhard Louw from Deutsche Telekom and Sarah Armitage from LVMH, both that are on different progressions of that journey, but have very single-minded objectives of where they want to go to. And so both Gerhard and Sarah provided, I thought, a brilliant, unique insight into the journeys that they were on, and I thought that kind of went down very well. But again, it was very provocative. So there were a lot of advertisers within, or brands within the auditorium that for the first time had heard Gerhard talk about his operating model and the challenges that Sarah has with 70 maisons that she needs to support. And I thought that went well.
And they gave away quite a lot as well, which is quite was unusual. Normally, well, not normally. Often these things can be quite generic, can't they? And particularly when you've got competitors in the room and people hold back. But both of them really shared. I think that was a lot of the good feedback. Okay, so that's good. We'll link to some of those, the progressions of control. If we think about, let's put the festival just to one side specifically, but we think about the need or not for the media industry to have a global platform. Because one of the observations and much of the talking around the festival was, why is it not 5 times bigger than it is? It's we're in a $500 billion global industry, which is really globalized, and it's not like there's nothing to talk about. I mean, we've kept this nonsense going for 2 years. There's always something to talk about. Every week there's something to talk about. So to curate or pull together an agenda to talk about some of the big challenges in media should be really easy and should get attention. Should it be bigger? Does the industry need a big platform on which to talk about some of these topics, or not? Is it just networking? Is that the important thing?
Well, I think it does. I think firstly, it's very difficult actually to cover off media in 2 days. I mean, just look at the festival itself. There was the main stage. There were 3 different rooms. There was a full agenda of provocative topics, from GDPR to to kind of networking, and everything kind of in between. And it's really difficult to kind of get that across in a really provocative, insightful way in 2 days, number one. But I think media now, given the unprecedented change that we are going through, needs and deserves a platform, I think, that can set the agenda. Now the challenge is that whose agenda are you setting? Because there are, broadly speaking, there are 3 kind of stakeholder groups. You've got the advertiser, you've got the agencies, and you've got the media owners and tech providers.
Who are sometimes in conflict or tension, let's just say.
That's right. So I think the first thing that I suppose you might need to think about is, whose agenda are you setting? But I without question, I think that the media industry deserves and needs some form of platform that clearly establishes a marker in the ground as to what should be going on. Agree.
So it's hard to create the agenda, but it needs focus. And the other thing, again, it's not about the Festival of Media per se, because that's a model of its own, and successful at doing what it does, is accountability. I don't know. I don't know whether that even works as viable on a kind of conference stage. As a parallel, isn't about accountability. It's about celebration and networking. But maybe there should be a platform where there's just a bit more accountability, where you assemble stakeholders from around the global media industry, and we have real discussions about trying to make progress. So perhaps maybe a bit more accountability would be my preference. Anyway, we'll see where we get to next year. Okay, I think that's probably good enough on the Festival of Media. I shall take my badge off now. I've worn it for 4 days, even in the pool.
Very good.
Okay. Okay, good week 4.
Dentsu Aegis network in the US
Yeah.
that have just picked up the whole of the hair care business for P&G from Hearts and Science. So, Hearts and Science won the business, the P&G business in North America in 2015.
Yeah.
Kind of 2 years into that tenure, the hair care piece of the business, which I think accounts for about 10% of P&G's total spend, was put up for review, and Aegis have won it, picked it up. So that's a big, big win for them in the US.
Yeah, big, big win. And that means bad week. Apart from being a bad week for Hearts and Science, it's potentially a bad week if you're maybe amongst the more junior employees at Publicis Media, because the company has announced it's going to bring all of its agencies together, which is probably quite sensible, but you're going to put them in a place called White City, which is very removed from the centre of kind of ad land, if you like. So they're arguably like the first agency to really go out of the central zone. Now, this is something we probably will see more of, right? Particularly for media operations, don't need to be downtown premium offices. You know, as it becomes more automated and et cetera, and the media is going to move closer and closer together. We know that margins are under pressure. So maybe it makes sense. But if you're actually an employee there, you're going to feel a bit like you're moving out into the suburbs for a while. You know what, we might, as somebody said, a couple of people mentioned at the Festival of Media, which we've been talking about, you know what, we probably look back on this and this might look like another genius move by Publicis, you know, actually setting a trend, bringing all of their agencies really clearly together with no exceptions into one place and sticking them in an office which is far cheaper and easier to manage than all the central London different bits and pieces. So might feel like a bad week if you're working there, but you're probably on the front edge of the curve. Okay, question of the week. Does the global media industry need a platform and an agenda?
Yes, no, whatever.
Excellent, good. That's your media snack for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Please give a thumbs up if you like what we're doing, but that's it for now.
See you next time.